we come out of pretty much all the combine. There's still some stuff left over from up there, but some decisions have been made. You can just bet either your Jacksonville Jaguars, the rest of the National Football League, they saw a ton of prospects, over 300 up in Indianapolis, and which will be the Jacksonville Jaguars' future. Will it be an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, maybe a wide receiver? They're talking it's a deep, deep, deep class. So let's get into it today. And your observations, if you're a combine watcher, if you've got combine eyes, falling in love up there, let us know what you think. Big Sirs was watching him some combine action yesterday, and that's when the offensive lineman came rolling in. And Big Sirs, they are saying, at least a few people are thinking, this may be the deepest class ever at the offensive line position.
Not only the deepest, but the best class ever.
Best.
I mean, we sometimes become prisoners of the moment. I mean, me and Matt was just talking about this off the air. There's a lot of great offensive linemen that are coming out this year, but no one I would say is a Joe Thomas, Ogden, or Orlando Pace. Now, they could be in the works, but those guys like that, when you say the best offensive line draft class ever, you've got to have guys that are already established.
Because they did come in.
Exactly.
Like
they came in, the Ogdens, the Pace, the Joe Thomas, they came in the league and set it on fire. And these guys have the potential. There's a couple of guys that I was watching the drills, and initially, I always had a problem with the combine with it. But some of the drills, specifically when it came to the offensive lineman, as far as the hip movement and watching the knee bend and the base and all that other kind of stuff with the cone drill, I mean, I can see how executives and I can see how coaches and stuff because they take you out of the football realm and they put you into the performance realm to see, how credible you are as an athlete. And most of these guys were able to showcase their talents as far as athletes go. So it was good to see. I saw the 40-yard dash. Yeah. And
Amarius Mims, by the way, Amarius Mims, a big human being.
He's a big human being, absolutely.
He went 5.07 in the 40-yard dash.
He did. He's a big. That's a big man that can move. Only concern, I didn't know this until I did a little research on him. He only had 7 stars as a player. So I'm a little concerned about that, but he's a big size man. He did well at the combine. He ran well. And he's got 36.5-inch arms, bro. So he's got the wingspan to play the left tackle position. My only concern with him is the fact that the lack of playing time. How would that transition into the NFL as far as, because these guys, no matter how good they are, they still got to develop.
Matty, I see guys come in with that much weight coming in the league. I worry. I push a worry button.
So here's the problem. Serge is my boy. Like, we're boys. Like, all of us. Like, we're like brothers. So, like, when I talk to him and I'm just talking to him, sometimes I forget I'm talking to an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So, like, as the words are coming out of my mouth that offensive linemen are overrated, I'm like, what are you saying? As the words are, like, escaping my mouth. And I see Leon give me, I get the snake eye.
I do not understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
I got the snake eye back a little bit, But the reality is
I took it personal. I got emotional. We'll go ahead.
A lot of the offensive line that we talk about, these guys, these guys are just as much, if not more, of a crapshoot than quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
If we can
go down the list of just Alabama offensive line.
True. Yeah.
Just Alabama.
Well, just like Matt, just like quarterbacks, they don't have the luxury to be groomed or be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you're thrown in the fire. I mean, the offensive line. Yeah, because back in the day, a quarterback would get drafted, he had to get groomed, he had to get mentored to get him ready for the NFL. When you get drafted now in the first round, you expect to play day one, no matter what. When OTAs start, you're the starting guy. I'm not saying nothing is to be earned, but it's given to you, so to say. So these linemen don't have that opportunity to be groomed to be better.
And they don't have the patience level with them that they do with a quarterback.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No.
Now, in today's world, and we use Trey Lance as an example, teams are giving up on that, even that big, high-priced quarterback quicker than maybe they did in years past, because within 3 years' time, they said goodbye to Trey Lance. Within 3 years' time, the number 2 overall pick in Zach Wilson, the Jets are saying goodbye to. So it does happen more now than it did before, but I do agree with it. I mean,
think about this. Okay? Evan Neal and Aquanu were both thought to be locks, right?
As remember, Iggy almost
day
came
one.
Here.
Day one players, top 5 picks. Neither one of them's any good.
Yeah. And Becton is another one. Okay, I can't remember exactly where he went. He was top 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton. He went to the Jets, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was top 10.
Yeah, and he struggled.
Because Christian Wirfs went 14th, and he's been a fixture down in Tampa, but Becton went before him. Look, we can go down the line with some of those big men that have been taken, and they don't work out.
I mean, it's like the quarterback position. I mean, it could be hit or miss. You know, some smell good, some not as good. Same thing with offensive linemen. Some pan out, some work in the system that they're in, some they flounder. I still believe, I'm a proponent that offensive linemen need to be groomed and mentored, just like a quarterback is. But they don't have that luxury anymore. They're thrown in the fire and they have to deal with it.
All right,
I don't think any position player does actually. If you're like you're drafted in the first 3 rounds, you got to play right away. Because of the transitional world and the turnover in each of these rosters every year, and with the cap, and you got to be able to play right away. Yeah. And if you miss on any of those first, second, and third round guys, then you got to start filling holes in free agency.
Well, raise your hand if you can think of a second and third round guy that did not play right away around here.
Right.
Brenton Strange and
kind of my point.
Bigsby. Now, Brenton was an inline blocker a bunch, and he made 1 or 2 plays, but we all know what we're talking about. He didn't play a bunch. All right, so Mia will be sliding in just a little bit. She's back from the NFL Combine, so she's going to give us plenty of kind of boots on the ground thoughts as far as what she saw up there. Cornerbacks, linemen, both sides, offense and defense, wide receivers. You can go down the line with the things that you saw that you liked. If you're a Duval Nooner, you can hit the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010 and let us know at least some of the ones that popped for you. And I'll give you one. The fastest 40 ever run at the NFL Combine took place on Saturday, and X Crosby goes out and just lights them up, 4.21. And whose record did he break?
Couldn't have been real, by the way.
Yeah. Say what?
I'm just not buying it. There's 4.21?
Yeah.
You know how fast that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw.
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying it. I'm just not.
Well, he ran it, and then he went back. I think he ran. What did he run? Like a 4.23, and went back and ran the 4.21. I'm trying to remember.
He ran a 4.25, then ran a 4.21.
Okay, 4.25, and then a 4.21. Denmark doing double duty. JJ is still somewhere across the pond. He'll be back later in the week.
All I'm saying is there's some kind of Marvel stuff going on here. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. Wolverine. There's something going on.
Well, you think
because I watched Xavier Worthy play at Texas, and he's not 4.21 guy.
Yeah. Okay. See, it's so funny because John Ross was the last guy that lit up the NFL Combine. And you want to talk about Combine eyes? They fell in love with him, drafted him high in the first round. Absolute waste of a pick. Waste of a pick. Hey, don't draft track stars in the first round. Don't draft guys that are fast that can't play the game. And that's John Ross, while good, not worthy of a first-round draft pick. Anyway, that was a bust. So you're not moved by it whenever you see that. You know what you saw on the football field is what you're saying.
It's a stupid 40 time is what it is. Stupid good.
Yeah.
But it's just I've watched him play on the field. He's a good player.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking, all right, maybe you can get Xavier Worthy in the third round, somewhere in the third round, or if you trade up from the fourth or something,
Right.
Be a nice guy to get. But 4.21?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to take him in the first round now.
And they'll John Ross their way to that pick, and then they'll end up maybe regretting it later. Now, out of this was the social media element that came out of this sidebar to Jaguar talk and NFL Combine talk. The X Crosby time.
Worthy. Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, why do I keep going that way? Yeah. Anyway, he lays down the 4.21, and all of a sudden, Michigan fan jumps in on Josh Gaddis, who was his recruiter when he was trying to come to Ann Arbor instead of going to Austin.
Right.
And they go in on him, which led Josh Gaddis to go back and just basically clap back at them and say, you know what, you guys might want to go back and take a look at what went down, because there was some cheating going on back then, and they allowed an ACT score to be approved. Go back and take a look. And anyway, he went on and on and on, and Michigan fan was just all over him. He ended up going to Texas, of course. And like you said,
so what he was saying was Texas allowed a bad ACT score.
Yeah. Well, they figured out a way. Now, he decommitted from his commitment to Michigan, and then something happened after that for them to figure out a way to get him in school. But the bottom line is, he was pointing out, I'm tired of you coming after me. I'm tired of you coming after my family. Why don't you take a look back? And this goes back to the pandemic time when Jim Harbaugh got flagged and all that kind of stuff. So it was at least a good sidebar to everything that was going on with that 4.21 time. All right, Mia did a 4.21 to get back into the building.
Quite literally. And also, we had an interesting additional transaction with this one. My sister is visiting, and so she may be driving around listening to us right now because I left her with my car. So hopefully everything goes well with that.
Put some gas in it.
Be very nice to her, Jacksonville drivers. And so I literally jumped out of the car as opposed to normally when I park the car at 10:10 and sprint out.
Yeah.
Now it was I jumped out, gave her stuff, gave me stuff, handed her the keys, and then came in here.
All right, so we're ready to rock and roll. But coming out of the combine, before we get into the Calvin Ridley discussion, it looked like there was a lot of good talent at the top end of the draft. There's been a little bit of discussion about how NIL is keeping players at home or keeping players on campus, so there may not be as many good fruit later in the draft type of picks. But still, overall, looks like a really good receiver class, really good lineman class.
Yeah, I think there's certain positions, Joe, that you can't say that about because I think they're reaching the level of expiration. We actually had a conversation, my sister and I, about it. She was, and of course it was in regards to Caitlin Clark, who we will get to on today's program, needless to say. But she was saying how it's crazy to think that her grade, that class that came in 2020, they will be the last of the COVID years. And so we will soon finally be past that.
Yeah.
And so then you won't have this excuse of, well, they stayed for 6-7 years. I think you're already seeing in this class, you're seeing those guys that are hitting their 6th, 7th year. And this is, they ran out of eligibility and they can be productive depth pieces. They could be good bottom third of the roster guys. They just opted to stay in college and make more money in the interim.
Yeah, it's funny because, Leon, Luke Fortner's a good example of the guy who came through the pandemic, and he was a super senior, 6 years up in Lexington. But we all talk about how he's got to get stronger, and he's entering his 3rd year. And he was in college for a half dozen years. Yeah. And then
a smart kid, too. I mean, what was it? Something engineering major, something like that? Aerospace engineer or whatever.
And had multiple degrees.
Double major.
Double major, yeah.
But the point of this one is that he was in college longer than most and still hasn't gotten to the point strength-wise where they'd like him to be, and he's going into his 3rd year.
Well, I'm not surprised, sort of say. I mean, some guys adapt to the NFL a lot quicker than others. I mean, it's just unfortunate that Fortner, as smart as he is, I'm sure he knows the playbook and what to do or whatever, but still, book smart is not going to keep 330 off you, all right? That's all I'm saying. It's not going to keep 330 off you. And he's got to develop. I don't know what the Jaguars are going to do as far as center goes. I mean, but that is a pivotal part of this offense and this struggling because of the center position, his inability. He gets overwhelmed by bigger guys, and he's either going to get stronger this year and buck up, or he's going to be replaced. Yeah. That's the way the NFL works. You either show up or you show up and show out, or they're going to ship you.
Yeah, exactly. Denmark, do you have that Schrager comment? Let me know if you've got it, because I want to be able to play it, because this ties into a Luke Fortner decision that this football team's going to have to make. But he is suggesting, and I'll just let Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football say it. Here it is.
Big guys. It's so good. And these are just the names, okay, of guys who can go in the first round. All right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 12 different offensive linemen who could go in the first round this year. There are so many offensive line needy teams. There are some studs, though. Those 2 top guys, Alt and Fuaga, they are potential all-pro types.
All right, so he begins with Joe Alt from Notre Dame, who Leon, from his dad. And also, I heard the pronunciation Tadaisi Fuanga. We'll find out whether that's
very good job, Joe. Wow, we've come a long way from Uyunglele. Wow.
I'm an international golf broadcaster, okay? I'm prepared with these. But they basically said that those 2 top of the crop, but at the same time, Schrags has Jackson Powers Johnson at the bottom of his first 12. Now, remember, we've talked about him being mocked to 17th overall to your Jaguars. Anyway, he has him as the 12th offensive lineman that potentially could go in the first round. How deep did you think that
12 offensive linemen go in the first round? That's a lot of offensive linemen. Dude. I mean, but listen, I mean, you're in a quarterback-driven league, so what better way to protect your quarterback to get offensive linemen? So, I mean, you've got projections of 6 quarterbacks going in the first round, another 7 wide receivers. 12 offensive linemen is a lot
Yeah.
for the in the first round. Bro.
See, that just leads me to think 12 offensive linemen, so there's going to be a run at some point. What if there's a run early? And then all of a sudden 17 rolls around and Malik Neighbors is sitting there at 17.
Oh, well, then it's no-brainer. There are some people who think he's better than Marv.
My thing is, if that happens, there's going to be somebody at 17 that you're going to go, they cannot pass on him.
Well, it's funny because I said to Jaguars today, I started out with Malik as a possibility because Rome Odunze may move ahead of Malik on some people's draft boards, all right?
Bro, if there's 10 guys in the first round, 10 offensive linemen, there's going to be a dude at 17.
Let's also add in what J.J. McCarthy did to the quarterback puzzle and maybe make you take 4 quarterbacks in the first dozen picks or so. He's been mocked to Vegas and a handful of other places. But anyway, we were talking about it, and I'm like, Malik, if he were to fall, and they're like, that's probably not going to happen. And you're probably right. But then I went back to my Brian Thomas love affair. If he falls to 17th, and let's just say Calvin Ridley is not inked, you can't ignore that as a possibility.
I appreciate one of our nooners on the Twitter machine, on the X machine, whatever we're calling it these days, that actually went back and dug up my tweet from February 27th of last year, in which I tweeted, as I just noted on XL Primetime, shout out, if the Jaguars can't get a deal done with Jawan Taylor, yes, they're still trying. Trent Baalke is okay with drafting an offensive tackle to become a swing in 2023 and a starter at tackle down the line. How'd that work out for you? Obviously, a few weeks later, they found out Cam Robinson would be suspended the first 4 games, which only expedited that situation. But we're at that same crossroads again, as Adam on X points out. You tagged Ingram and you let Jawan walk, extended Ingram, drafted Jawan's replacement in the first. Tag Allen, let Ridley walk, extend Allen, draft Ridley's replacement in the first. Could lightning strike twice?
Yeah.
I mean, I just threw out wide receiver. What if Dallas Turner's there at 17? Then what?
All right, this is what I fight, okay?
This has been the argument now for a week and a half, and I've been saying you got to take what you need, man.
Yeah. Well,
but they're going to get that eye candy is a distraction, a huge distraction.
I take best player available mixed with what you've got to have. Okay, what your biggest need is. But Dallas Turner, depending on what Ryan Nielsen does, presents some interesting possibilities. Who's more valuable, a Dallas Turner at 17 or a Brian Thomas at 17? Well, you got to do the football math, the offseason math. Did you do a deal with Calvin Ridley or did you say goodbye to him? You know that will have a hand on what they decide to do.
Right, okay? And are you truly doubling down on the offensive line?
Right, yeah. But I'm just talking about these specific positions, the wide receiver and the rush in. Did you tag Josh Allen or did you give him a long-term deal? If you gave him a long-term deal, then chances are you're probably not going down the Dallas Turner road. But to Mia's point, if you tag somebody and you don't know that they're going to be here more than 1 year, so that position still stays in play as far as a draftable first-round pick.
I think even if they signed him, if they signed Josh Allen and Dallas Turner's sitting there at 17, that's going to be a hard no.
Hard to argue with.
Hard to argue saying, no, we're going to pass on him.
Yeah. And then I always believe that if it's that attractive of a target, then invite the phone calls. Let someone else step forward.
We've seen that here, man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, let someone else step forward, and you get something extra within the next, say, 20-some picks. So
right, if you know what you're doing as far as picking.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to pick when it's right in front of your face.
I get it.
If Brock Bowers is sitting right there in front of your face, what are you going to do?
It's going to be tough.
Big question.
But I'm just telling you, it was right in front of their face, and they drafted Brenton Strange. Okay.
And C.J. Henderson.
And you just can't keep
Chase on.
Yeah. So, by the way, let's not mix Dave Caldwell and Trent Baalke
we can
together,
mix.
Okay?
We can mix.
Yeah, well, but I'm just saying, at the very least, each deserves credit for fails in both of those draft classes because Dave gets stuck with the Calevons, the C.J. Hendersons of the world. Baalke gets stuck with the Stranges in the tanks in the second and third round. But he did land Anton Harrison. He did make a good decision there by necessity, but still a good decision. And so I just don't think you can go back to the tight end well. I don't think you can go back.
But hey, real quick.
Yeah.
What did he do with that capital that he got from trading back?
Yeah. Well, he hasn't
Remember,
done.
the response was no one's gonna trade with us.
Yeah. Well, no.
Come on.
He was in a position where he could have given stuff away to move up and couldn't get anybody to trade with him. It wasn't a matter of moving back.
Also, one of those picks
up.
turned into Antonio Johnson.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Antonio Johnson comes in the 5th round. That certainly is a plus.
The point I'm making is if you move back in the first round, the goal is if you can move back up, right?
Yeah, that's
correct.
The whole goal.
That's the goal,
right?
Yeah. Is that you're going to get 2 more picks?
And I just refuse to believe that no one would trade with them.
Yeah, but let's just say, and we can play the scenario out to the hilt until we get to late April. But he moves out of 17 and he drops 3 spots to 20 or 21 and has something at the very top of the 2nd round. So he's gained an extra pick and he's only moved back 3 or 4 slots. That's how I'm trying to treat it.
And again, that is banking on, I know Coach Campo sent me this morning, that's banking on how far back are you going, right? So this is the one that Coach found on the internet this morning. I don't know where it's from. In this situation,
he finds these things.
He's a surfer.
I know.
He's a surfer.
Also, he sent me the thing about Jerry and the 1-year deals. We're gonna have to talk about that later in the program down in Dallas. So he sent me one in which these players were on the board at 17: Johnny Newton, Terrion Arnold, Powers Johnson, Fuaga, Murphy, and Wiggins.
Jeez, that's a lot.
And Brian Thomas.
That's a ton.
And so Brian Thomas in that scenario went at 23. And so, yeah, then I have no issue. If that many guys that are on your board are there, then you feel comfortable moving back.
Move back because you probably have a similar grade on each one of them.
Right. If Fuaga and Thomas are already gone, and so you're banking on Arnold, who's going to be gone any moment, and Murphy still being around at 23, then it's a bit more of a gamble.
And then what did you do? You married up quality with necessity.
Right.
I may write that one down. Quality with necessity, because I do like that. Because that's when you say, okay, I got a serious need and I got a seriously good player, and I'm going to go get him.